Another statement win, 13 straight games with a point and a red hot offense. My friends, what in the world is happening with the Nashville Predators right now? We'll talk about it on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start out with a special shout out to our loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys and appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio. Normally, I have a partner in crime, but Ann Kimmel is off this week, and she's missing quite an adventure for the Nashville Predators. Another big win in the Central Division, this time against the red-hot Winnipeg Jets. Everything going right for Nashville right now. They have a red-hot offense. Some of their depth players are really kicking out. Goaltending is huge. And a couple of bits of history to talk about after last night's game against the Jets. We will get into all of that on today's show. First, though, let's break down the game just a little bit for those of you who did not have a chance to see it. This one was all Predators. Right out of the gate, Gustav Nyquist gets the scoring going with a good wrist shot to make it 1-0 Predators. Roman Josi, an absolutely beautiful down ice pass to set up Nyquist for his 18th goal of the year. Kiefer Sherwood later in the period made it 2-0. Roman Josi had his 50th assist on that play. Things get going again in the third period. A great play off of a broken defensive effort by Winnipeg. Gustav Nyquist with a no-look backhand pass to Filip Forsberg for his 34th goal of the season. We'll talk more about him in a second. And then just 16 seconds later, Jason Zucker, his first as a Nashville Predator, 10th of the season on a good assist from Colton Sissons. Winnipeg made it a little bit close there right at the end. Alex Iafallo scored, and then Mason Appleton scored on a power play and with the net empty to make it 4-2 Winnipeg Jets. But the Preds were able to shut the door. Again, 4-2, the final score, Preds over Winnipeg. One word to describe this game: manifesting. Now, when you start the year, if you're, maybe like a big cosmic energy person, maybe you know what I'm talking about here. But there's something that a lot of people do to start the year called like a manifesting, or like a manifestation board or a manifestation journal, where they just kind of talk about everything they want to achieve that year. Basically, 1 year from when they start, what do they want their life to look like? Let's flash back to when Andrew Burnett was hired by the Nashville Predators just under 1 year ago. We seemed, him getting hired as coach and Barry Trotz coming in, there seemed to be like a manifestation of Preds fans of what they wanted the Nashville Predators to look like under the new regime. We wanted this to be a high-powered offense. We wanted this to be fast-paced hockey, maybe less, hard-hitting, gritty, like lockdown on defense kind of hockey, and more just wide open. A lot of speed, a lot of agility, a lot of toughness on the puck. Not necessarily just, laying out big hits, but, being able to win puck battles and, being able to kind of, stay with your assignments and force turnovers and stuff like that. Basically that's kind of the vision that people wanted for the Nashville Predators. A little bit closer to Colorado and Vegas, and a little less like, I don't know, the 2012 LA Kings. That's kind of the way you want to play in the new NHL. It's been a long road to get here. The Predators, showed kind of glimpses of what they could be, maybe glimpses of becoming that team. Then they took a big step back, looked like the John Hines or even, the Peter Laviolette the bad Peter Laviolette Nashville Predators. And it just didn't really look like this team had any direction, or that they had maybe a longer way to go to get to where they wanted to be. In this game, we saw the absolutely, I think the absolute sign that the team that the Nashville Predators wanted to be, it's the early stages of becoming that team. You look at the game against Winnipeg last night, and the Predators had their foot on the gas from start to finish, outshot the Jets 38-29. And this is a really good Winnipeg Jets team that has been playing some really good hockey as of late. They basically outworked them the entire game. More shots, more consistent pressure. It doesn't matter who was on the ice for Nashville, whether it was the Forsberg line, whether it was Michael McCarron and his group. Whoever was out there was just constantly putting pressure on a really good Winnipeg Jets team. You saw them, we're prone to see the Nashville Predators, especially on offense, maybe overthink things, maybe take the safe play a little bit too much. Not a reckless play, but, maybe not take as many chances. You saw that first Roman Josi play. Roman Josi stretched the puck past basically the entire Winnipeg Jets team to spring Gustav Nyquist. We saw, Gustav Nyquist later make a good sort of, could have easily shot that puck, made just like a head or eyes in the back of the head play to Forsberg for an even easier goal. We're seeing plays like that from the Nashville Predators. They're being more aggressive on offense. They are sustaining more pressure, and they're starting to get to where we wanted them to be offensively. In this 13-game point streak that they have going on, which is 13 games, they have outscored opponents 53-26. Yeah, 53 goals in the last 13 games for the Nashville Predators. That is amazing. They are consistently outshooting teams. I think there's only 3 of those 13 games in which the Predators were actually outshot, and it wasn't by a lot by any means. Filip Forsberg last night, his 34th goal. He's 10th in the NHL. There's only been one season in the Predators' 25 years where they had somebody in the top 10 in goals. They actually had 2. It was 2 years ago, the Duchesne-Forsberg 1-2 year. But these are just all signs that this Nashville Predators team, they're starting to get their offensive identity going. And look, we always had Juuse Saros. We're going to talk about him in a sec. We've always had that shutdown defense. But the one thing that has always seemed to elude Nashville, even in like the Stanley Cup year and even in the year where they won the President's Trophy, it just seems like they could never get that number one offense going, like an offense worthy of a team that's going to be at the top of the league. It just felt like a collection of really good players who happened to be good together, as opposed to, maybe an elite first line and a bunch of really good second liner whatsoever. We have a legitimate top line now with Filip Forsberg, especially when Roman Josi is on the ice on defense with him. The depth players during this win streak. Look, Forsberg is getting a lot of credit. Riley, Nyquist, Josi, all getting a lot of credit. But Luke Evangelista has been great. The depth players have been great. Colton Sissons made a great offensive play to set up Jason Zucker on his first goal. We talked about Tommy Novak starting to hit his stride. Here in a little bit. Kiefer Sherwood with a big goal last night. We talked about Jankowski and even Michael McCarron coming up with clutch goals in recent games. So it's everybody on the Nashville Predators that are starting to hit their offensive stride. And look, the Nashville Predators right now are in a wild card spot. They have a long way to go. They have a long way to go before the playoffs, even begin. It is very possible that this team could crash and burn. We've seen it many a time for the Nashville Predators. But the way this team is playing and the way the offense is going, combined with the defense still being solid and the goaltending starting to hit stride, this is going to be a dangerous playoff team for any first-round heavyweight if they continue playing the way that they've been playing the past couple games and the way we saw them play against a really good Winnipeg Jets team last night. More from this game coming up in just a second, including some kudos for the newest Nashville Predators, Jason Zucker and Anthony Beauvillier, and the goaltending situation. It's starting to take off in Nashville, and boy, do you just love to see it. Talking about that in just 1 second. First, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Grocery bills, they're a little bit expensive these days. If you've been to the store recently, you might have felt a little bit of a dent in your credit card statement or your bank account, but they don't have to be that expensive. You can start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Ibotta gives you cash back on things like groceries, beauty supplies, even toys for your kids. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns over $256 per year. Guys, this is the cost of an entire shopping trip. You can use that money instead of spending it on groceries. You can spend it on the trip you've been wanting to go on, or that game you've been dying to go to, or maybe, take your fancy out to that fancy dinner at that new restaurant you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, you just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, your PayPal account, or get in gift cards. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta. All you need to do is use the code LOCKEDONNHL when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and start earning cash back using the code LOCKEDONNHL. That's Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store using code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, baseball fans, as you know, Locked On launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Well, opening days are on the corner, which means March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern, Locked On Sports is launching their MLB season preview, and it's going to be exclusively on Locked On Sports Today. Again, that's March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can be the first to get local insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Again, March 20th, 7 p.m. Get your calendars all straightened away there on the Locked On Sports Today 24 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Back to the Nashville Predators and their big 4-2 win over the Winnipeg Jets last night. Let's talk about some of the new faces on this Nashville Predators team. Of course, Jason Zucker last night, his first goal with the Nashville Predators, his 10th of the season, a good play by Colton Sissons there to set him up on that. We also had Anthony Beauvillier, who on the score sheet, not doing a whole lot, but you watch him play, a lot of energy out there. He's creating a lot of offense, really, I think, sort of driving. And I think he's been really good on the Preds' second power play unit, because we know that's kind of been an issue for this team over the last few years or so, is trying to get that depth behind Roman Josi, Filip Forsberg, and others. I might have been wrong when I panned each of these trades way back in the day. Yeah, remember when I was doing my trade deadline recap, and I was like, yeah, I guess like these trades are fine, but if you want to build towards the future, why not just have, your young guys in Milwaukee come up, or why not give them a roster spot? Surely they're not going to be that much better than, or that much worse than, 30-year-old veterans or guys, tailing off in the end of their career. Okay, yeah, maybe I got that one wrong. Jason Zucker, I think, has been a fantastic fit. I think, look, his stat line, not even near where it was, just a few years ago, although he did have a pretty good season last year. But, he is, providing some really good energy for this Nashville Predators team. He's really adding a lot of depth up front, and you're starting to see, maybe the stats haven't quite followed him this year, but you're starting to see the play that made him a very, very good middle six scorer around the NHL for several years. And if the Nashville Predators can get that, especially down the stretch in this playoff run, that's going to be a big weapon for them. And, that second power play unit, somebody like Zucker and Beauvillier are going to help somebody like Tommy Novak really take his game to the next level. I know Luke Evangelista has kind of rotated in here and there well too in some of the power play units. Another young guy who's going to be helped by somebody like Zucker, or maybe on his other wing, somebody like Beauvillier on his other wing. So far, early returns, yeah, things are going great for the new Nashville Predators editions. And yeah, I mean, maybe I have to eat some crow here. I did not think this was going to be a transaction that was worth it. But I've been proved wrong there. So yeah, Jason Zucker and Anthony Beauvillier, really good additions to this team early on. I'm excited to see what they can do. And Jared Dolan Anderson, whenever he finally gets on the ice, I know defense has been kind of a train wreck in terms of getting people ice time. Although right now, with a couple of injuries, one of which we'll talk about coming up in a little bit, maybe there might be a path for him to get some more ice time there. But I am excited to see what Jared Dolan Anderson can do for this team when given a chance. The other big thing from last night, and this is another key point, I think, for this team, something that's driven them towards success this season, has been the goaltending. And again, I sound like a broken record because it seems like every year we get on a winning streak, we talk about how good the goaltending has been. We talk about how much better Saros has been in the second half of the season this year, which is great. But let's really dive into the stats here for Juuse Saros. Since that 9-2 Dallas debacle, Juuse Saros has played in 10 games. He is 8-0-2 with a .932 save percentage. Oh, and by the way, there's 3 games he didn't play in. Kevin Lankinen, 3-0 with a .933 save percentage. So the Preds goaltending right now, it's always been good, folks. It's always been really, really good. But them kicking into gear right now, sort of in that same way that we've seen them kicking into gear in years past, 2021, when they really had no business being in the playoffs. And not only did they make a miracle run to the postseason, but Juuse Saros nearly stole that series against the Carolina Hurricanes. That's one that really could have gone either way. Absolutely, I think in 2022, we know what happened there. May have been a different story if Juuse Saros had stayed healthy. But guys, he's entering into game-changing mode again. And that is absolutely great news for the Nashville Predators and absolutely dangerous news for everybody else on the Western Conference right now, because not only can the Nashville Predators get into the playoffs and the way they're playing, but it's a very good chance that they have enough to steal a series against one of the top teams in the Western Conference. So if that goaltending keeps up, watch out, folks. Again, like I said at the end of the last block, if the offense keeps up and the goaltending keeps up, yeah, Nashville Predators might be a dangerous team. A couple more notes on this game coming up in just 1 second, including another unfortunate injury. Dear God, they're dropping like flies. And a couple of bits of history for some Nashville Predators defensemen. So we'll talk about that coming up in just 1 second. First, though, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Do you know that even if you have a 401k for your retirement, you can still have a separate IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is only good through April 30th, so get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss, limitations to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. All right, on tomorrow's Locked On Predators podcast, the Preds, can they make it 14 straight games with a point? That would be one away from the all-time record of 15 straight games at the point. They set that back in their President's Trophy year back in 2018. Maybe the Preds can do it. They're going to have a tough game on the road against the Seattle Kraken. It's also the last game of their Western Conference road trip, so we'll look ahead to next week's homestand in that episode as well, and also talk about this Nashville Predators run. Could it actually end in a Stanley Cup Finals run? Like, are the Predators good enough right now to contend? It's some pros and cons there, but we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. First, though, let's go back to last night's 4-2 win over the Winnipeg Jets, which, by the way, as Alex Doherty pointed out on Twitter last night, was the Preds' first regulation win in Winnipeg since February 2020. Yeah, that was even before like the COVID pandemic was a thing. Yeah, this is pre-COVID in the U.S. February 2020. That's how long it's been for the Nashville Predators since they had a regulation win in Winnipeg. So a very rare win up there and a good overall performance. One bit of bad news is Spencer Stastny, who is playing his first game since December. A lot of people were really excited to see him get caught up. A lot of people were even wondering, is this the last time he's going to get called up? Because of how well he's been playing in Milwaukee, how well that the Preds, kind of see him moving forward. There's talk that Barry Trotz was trying to trade a defender at the deadline to give him maybe a full-time chance to play in the NHL. Obviously, that didn't happen, but Fabro's injury, brought him back up. Unfortunately, took a bit of an awkward hit while going for a puck in the corner, was left the ice, did not come back and play. Nothing official from the team yet, but apparently there is maybe a bit of an upper body concern there. We'll have to see over the next little bit if he's able to play or if he has to miss any time. So if he does, maybe that's the gap that Jared Anderson-Dolan needs to maybe come in and see what he can do for the Nashville Predators. Or God, maybe you just put Tyson Barrie back in. Oh, I can't believe Tyson Barrie is still here. Jesus Christ. It's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully Stastny doesn't miss any more time. We should maybe find out more either tomorrow or the morning of the Seattle game. Let's get to some positives from last night's game. This one was mentioned on 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman this morning. Jeremy Lauzon, 321 hits now on this season. He is officially past the Nashville Predators all-time single-season hits record, which was set all the way back just 2 years ago by Tanner Janelle. A lot of records from 2022 apparently in danger of being passed this year. But good for Jeremy Lauzon. It's now officially on the NHL's radar. Our buddy Sean Smith on Penalty Box Radio talked about this, where he's actually on pace right now to pass Matt Martin's NHL record for hits in a season that he set a few years ago. It's like 380 something. So if Jeremy Lauzon plays in every single game and records his average number of hits that he's been having in every single game, he's going to pass that by, I believe, a handful. Might be close, but he is on track to maybe safely pass that right now. So there's something to watch out for. Jeremy Lauzon, good hitting, man. John Hines would be proud of that style of hockey that you're playing right now. So kudos to you. And also, we have to mention Roman Josi before we leave. As we mentioned, 2 assists last night. He's now at 50 assists for the second time in his career. Remember, he had 50 assists 2 years ago when he had 96 points. He actually had 76 assists that year, which is the single season Preds record. That is now, as we mentioned, second time in his career that he's had 50 assists. Only other Predator besides Paul Kariya to have 50 plus assist seasons twice. So Paul Kariya did it twice. Roman Josi has now done it twice. So some more Preds history for Roman Josi there. Also, this was his 100th career multi-point game. Only 5 active defensemen in the NHL right now have that distinction. So he joins Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, Victor Hedman, and Brent Burns, which some pretty good company, some future Hall of Famers there. Roman Josi really padding his resume as one of the best NHL defensemen, especially in offense of our generation. Really excited to see what he can do moving forward for the rest of the year. So that's it, folks. Nashville Predators, big win over the Winnipeg Jets, a hard-fought and hard-earned win. They are now firmly in the playoff picture, and with each win and with each convincing win over a really good team, a team they're battling for playoff position for, maybe future playoff opponents, the transition goes from, is this Nashville Predators team for real, to does this Nashville Predators team, do they have the ability to keep this skill up? And now I feel like we're slowly kind of veering into the conversation of, does this Nashville Predators team have what it takes to maybe cause some chaos in the postseason once they get there? There's a long way to go. That's going to be our topic of conversation on tomorrow's Locked On Predators podcast. We'll also look ahead to the Seattle Kraken showdown, look ahead to a big homestand next week. So a lot to get to on the Locked On Predators podcast this week. For those of you who want to read more about the Nashville Predators, you can read my work and my wonderful colleagues' work on the Preds at penaltyboxradio.com. You can also find Ann's work there as well. You can find me on social media at _NS Morgan. Interact with me there. Ask me any questions you have about the Nashville Predators. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back with an all-new episode tomorrow. We will see you then, friends.